Hi and welcome to this next flipped preaching video where we look at the gospel passage to come on Sunday ahead of time, discuss it beforehand, flipping the order so that when we come to it on Sunday we've got a bit of a head start. Today's passage is Mark 1:29 to 39 and it follows on directly from last week's. Last week we had Jesus appearing in the synagogue and being confronted and confronting the evil spirit that was there and telling it to be still, and all of the drama and excitement of that. And in this passage we get what happens next, and in many ways it follows on smoothly. So we've already had an exorcism. This passage finishes with exorcisms, and in between we've got one healing and then many healings. So there's a pattern here of what Jesus' ministry is about. So they leave the synagogue and go to Simon and Andrew's house, and they take James and John along with them to see Jesus and his start of the disciple body. So quite a lot of this happens inside the house, and that's significant. Remember, before last week it all happened in the synagogue. Now the action moves to a house. And remember, at the time when Mark would have put this together, the church, this was about the year 70, we think. So the church existed in people's houses, didn't have its own buildings at all. So to go to church, to join with the church family, happened in houses, and possibly the house that we're talking about was the church in the area. So they know exactly which house they were talking about. So there's a bit of a contrast between what happens in the synagogue, where it was risky and evil spirits were around, and then in the house where things are kind of calm and comfy. It says that Simon's mother-in-law was in bed with a fever. And Jesus comes and beautifully says he came and took her by the hand and lifted her up. Then the fever left her and she began to serve them. And this pattern, as we see, plays out, that Jesus tells evil spirits to be quiet and they flee, and sickness flees as well. There's a sense that all forms of illness, whether it's this kind of evil acting or illnesses like this fever, they're not what God wants, and when Jesus comes near, they leave. There's a sense of healing being what God is about, what Jesus is about. Never disease. Disease in its many forms is against what God wants. Jesus demonstrates that beautifully by the way that he comes and takes her hand. And I've linked to a couple of the Old Testament passages from Isaiah and Psalm 73, where it says that God will take our hand and lead us on to be a blessing to others. It says the fever left her and she began to serve them. At first reading, it seems a bit odd to me that she's been poorly, she's made one, and instantly she goes and puts the kettle on and begins to serve them. But this is radical in many ways. Firstly, it's significant that the first person that Jesus heals is a lady. It's a woman, and her serving of the people was something that strict Jewish people and rabbis wouldn't have accepted in those days. Jesus is breaking gender norms. It's someone who was on the outside of society, which women were treated in that way in those days, is the first person healed and restored. She's kind of like the model disciple, and very clearly starts off with her being the first person to serve. Not long ago in Mark's Gospel, when we had that word serve before, that was when the angels came and served Jesus in the temptation in the wilderness scene. So the woman is on the side of the angels. She's on the right side by her service here. She's on the track, she's on the way. And the story goes on with many other people. The whole The whole city, it said, was gathered around the door. They all come in with their various needs, whatever they are. They come in with whatever problem they have. Everybody has this desire to be made whole by Jesus. It's a universal appeal, which is really, really cool. So a few things to think about within this passage. What do you make of the fact that Jesus took this person by the hand? What's the significance of God's hand taking this person? I didn't mention. When it says he lifted her up, more literally he raised her or he resurrected her. Same word will be used for Jesus later on in his resurrection. He kind of brought her new life and new hope. So what's the significance of the hand? What do you see as the significance of this being in a home where they could gather together and be together, and everybody came to the home and was gathered at the door? And what do you make about the universal appeal of Jesus? The fact that everybody wanted to be restored and to be made whole by him. Everybody was hunting for him and wanting to come to him. So the universal appeal of Jesus. Do we think that that's something which happens today? If you meet someone in the street, do you assume that they are not interested or they are interested in Jesus? This passage would assume that says that we should assume that they are. People are hungry for restoration and love and wholeness. So I would love to hear what you think of this. I hope that you're well and you stay well. So join me next week as we continue on this series. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye bye.